Und dann darf ich Sie auch inhaltlich
So,
sehr herzlich
also should like to welcome you content-wise to our evening event in our series Listen to the East and Republic of Moldova, so the society and the church after the election. My name is Teresa Grabing. I'm your moderator for this evening. So I have been the country representative for Moldova at Renovabis for many years and currently with Malteser Hilfsdienst. I'm very pleased to be moderating this discussion this evening. We have three guests here, whom I will introduce later, and with whom I will be talking one after the other. You, as the audience, it's good to have you here. We're very pleased. And should you have any questions to our guests, please write them in the chat. And if possible, we will try to take up this question. And if at the end we still have time, we will have the opportunity to look at some more questions, actually. That having said, let me share this map here. So you should be able to see my screen now with a simple map of the Republic of Moldova. And so we see here a small country with about 34 square meters of space, and compared to that, Germany is 10 times the size. So we have a country between Romania on the one side and the Ukraine on the other side, and it's crossed by the river Nistru in Romanian. So it separates this great gray area from the colorful area here. And we have this capital, Chișinău, in the center, where we have this purple and red area. And as you all probably know, this Republic of Moldova has been independent since 1991, since the collapse of the Soviet Union. And so there were civil conflicts. So they have a frozen territorial conflict for 30 years now. So in 1992, the area on the other side of the river Nistru has declared to be an independent country as Transnistria. So they have declared their capital to be Tiraspol, but it's also clearly influenced by Moscow. But nevertheless, despite this inner borderline, it's still possible to have a transfer of goods and people here. As far as the people are concerned, so the estimates are a bit differing here. So there's a lot of circular migration, so that stay for part of the year in Moldova and for the rest of the year in another country, but it's between 2.3 to 3 million people. So that's the estimates that we have as regards the size of the population. So in general, the number of people due to ongoing economic and societal challenges has been declining. And what can also see is an internal migration. So the rural population migrates more and more to the urban areas, mainly to the capital of Chișinău. And in this agglomeration, it's about 1 million people that are located there, maybe even more. And exactly 1 month ago, on the 28th of September of this year, the Republic of Moldova was once again facing what were said to be fateful parliamentary elections, from which the Party Action and Solidarity by the President Maio Sandu, well, they won this elections. The Republic of Moldova is one of the poorest countries, financially poorest countries in Europe. It has a lot of cultural treasures, great people, great stories, and it will be confronted with a lot of challenges also in the future. And one of these challenges is the often cited division of society between the pro-European and the pro-Russian sides. And so, and how it is to live in this state in everyday life, what people believe in and so on. I would like to talk about this with three guests. So we have Bishop Anton Coșa, Catholic Bishop of Chișinău, Ms. Corina Gila, So she's the head of the Goethe Center in the capital of Chișinău, and Reverend Sergio Aga, he's an Orthodox priest and politician. So I'm very pleased that all three of you are here today, and I'm looking forward to our talks. And I should like to talk and start with Bishop Anton. So he's 64 years old, and he comes from Iași, this diocese, which is directly neighboring to Moldova. And in 1991, he was first appointed pastor of the Catholic community in Chișinău. And in 1993, he became the apostolic administrator for Catholics, and he was consecrated bishop in 2000. And since 2001, he has been the former bishop of the Diocese of Chișinău. Bishop Anton, it's very nice to have you here. So for more than 30 years, you are active in the Republic of Moldova, and you've made a great contribution to building up the Catholic Church there again. Can you explain to us what does it look like currently, the Catholic Church? Well, to talk about the Catholic Church today, please allow me to go a little bit back in time. And I would like to share some information about this first time. So exactly 35 years ago, so when I was only 29 years old, I came from Romania, from the Diocese of Iași to Moldova, and for 1.5 years I used to be a vicar and had very intensive pastoral work in a very large parish. For example, I celebrated 6 masses every Sunday, and so the church was always completely full then, so that most people were actually standing outside in the yard. So when I arrived in Chișinău, what I saw was just a handful of people, and most of them were pensionists, and they came to church. So it was a small herd. What that the Bible also talks about. So year by year, new priests came and new ordained people, mostly from Romania and from Poland. And with their help, the Catholic community was growing, so new parishes were founded. And today, more than 30 years after the beginning of our restructuring, the Diocese of Chișinău consists of 20 parishes and 6 branches that are taken care of by 22 priests, also 6 diocesan priests, and also 3 from our order, from Transnistria. And we also have 23 sisters from 8 different congregations that also support this. Although the official data of the last census came up to not even 5,000 Catholics, without those from Transnistria, we think that their number is much higher, because there are many people that come from Catholic families and have not found the way back to church, the church of their parents and grandparents. But most of our parishes, especially in the countryside, are very small. Even if those in the cities, especially Chișinău or Rednica, are a little bit bigger. So in the first phase of our activities, and first phase means the first 12 years, 10, 12 years, our target was to develop new parishes and organize them, that to set up the structures again that are necessary to build them up, again, and also to fight poverty, especially with humanitarian aid. And then we invested in the training of lay people by founding an academy for theology students. And we also had a magazine and an historic publication. But also seminars were organized, and also exercises. All of this was organized for these people. And we also got a lot of attention, or we dedicated a lot of attention to the children. And we have founded several kindergartens there, but unfortunately only 4 are still operated at the moment. So we have also social and also welfare activities according to the demands. And so we have multiplied that over time. Of course, there are many other aspects that should be highlighted, but I would like to limit this for the time being to this. So as a conclusion, I can say that the Catholic Church in Moldova today is a real diocese. And I can only underline this. So for many years, I had the pleasure to meet you, the parish, the people working there. And I'm always impressed how much has been created over this time, because you were still starting from almost nothing, and there was so much love and devotion there. And at the same time, you said there are many, many challenges, and you could always do more about this. So if you think about the past 30 years, the Republic of Moldova has never been able to settle down. So what are the biggest challenges? What are the biggest changes in the church and the society that you have observed over recent years? Well, both in the society and also in our church, there's a lot of dynamics. Well, the political and economic situation have influence on the course of things in the country. And should I evaluate that? Should I have to assess this, whether the changes were for the better or for the worse? Then I would find it very difficult to assess this. Well, the fact that there's a lot of poverty in the country and also a lot of uncertainty. So this led to an increase of migration. So that many villages are depopulated, and some of our parishes have really decreased considerably. So we have parishes where most young people have gone to other countries, mainly to Poland, but not only to Poland. So they have emigrated there, and they have integrated themselves in these other countries. And I don't know, again, whether this is good or bad, but I believe that this is an enormous challenge for us that we have to be prepared for. Also, the internal migration leads to certain imbalances, and the number of parishes in the countryside is decreasing, but the number of parishes in the city are increasing. But it's clear that we notice a huge change of the rural parishes. And of course, there are a lot of changes in the country, but not all of them are a direct challenge for us as the church. Well, the fact that politics recently have done something for the cultural, social, and scientific new start, and including the promotion and the defense of the Romanian language. Of course, this has a positive impact on a large part of the society, but also negative things. People that are nostalgic about things, especially those that come from the Russian cultural hemisphere. So for them, it was difficult. So unfortunately, not all see and will appreciate the promotion of the Romanian language. The orientation of the country towards the integration into the European Union have brought about a lot of changes, and the people obviously see this in different ways. They are not all in favor of that. So I personally think that our decision in favor of Europe, I think this is a good decision. If you really pursue that with the necessary seriousness, and if you have people that negotiate the accession in such a way that they can be able to defend our specific characteristics of our country. I think, so from my point of view, you correctly say this, because every challenge, well, there always includes two things. In every conflict, you have two sides. And if change happens, then of course it always means old things, and people have to be taken along then towards the new things. So please, let's say something regarding the social agents there. So the Catholic Church in the Republic of Moldova is relatively small. So we think it's about 20,000 believers at a maximum, but still, despite this small size, the Catholic Church has a lot of social institutions that make an important contribution. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about this. What are the biggest successes in the social area over recent years, and maybe also the biggest challenges in the social field? Well, on the level of our church, we have different social organizations, and apart from Caritas, we also have Regina Patis Foundation, Don Bosco, Optima Fide, Amadeus, Gottungsvorsehungshaus, John Pope II. They are all successfully active, and all of them with their own special features and with their own charisma. And in almost every parish, there are different social initiatives. And I'm very pleased about this, because our charity can reach a very large number of beneficiaries this way. And who are these people? Well, children in the kindergarten, or day centers, or nursery homes, old people homes, old people that need that get help every day and a warm meal, ill people, isolated people that are visited by people with alcohol or drug problems, young people that are prison inmates, for example, and also refugees from Ukraine, other foreigners that have come to our country and require different services. So one remarkable success in the social area, if I should have to highlight one, then I would focus on the two diocese centers, Fides and Gottesvorsehung. So that's what I would like to mention, which help a large number of beneficiaries and offer social services to many people, and which are supported by Renovabis in a very generous way. And we are very grateful for this. Somebody from Renovabis told me that even for them, this project is a huge success. As far as the challenges are concerned, From my point of view, one of the biggest challenges is that even today there are a lot of material and human poverty in the country. I would like to point out that very often it's difficult to differentiate who is really poor and who just thinks they are poor, but in reality are not poor. Another difficulty is the fact that some partners during the course of time, for different reasons, are forced to stop the financing of our projects. And so this way we run the risk that we leave the poor people in the lurch. And there's still another challenge from our public authorities, both on a nationwide but also on a local level, and for different reasons, be it for legislative reasons, bureaucratic reasons, but also due to corruption. They prevent the implementation of a larger number of projects to fight poverty. Thank you very much for this insight into the social activities. I can just underline that from my time with Renovabis. So what you mentioned here, the projects, they are really excellent initiatives. And yes, it's difficult in view of the ongoing material misery to really select who are you going to help and how are you going to help and how can you manage that even if the funds for that are being reduced. So as a final question to you that I would like to ask you, so you already mentioned that there's a change. So change always means challenges and maybe also conflicts. So it's often claimed that Moldova is a divided country, a country torn between East and West. So from your point of view, would you agree with this perspective? And how could we see this in everyday life, also in the everyday life of the Catholic Church? And how do you deal with this then? Well, you can really clearly see this division. This is a reality that you can see, especially with the most recent elections now and the referendum on the European integration last year. So this became very clear then. But on the other hand, I believe that it's not a true division, a real division. So until recently, this was promoted, this political mentality that Moldova, both from the East and from the West, should benefit as much as possible. That Moldova should benefit from both sides, that it shouldn't give up the East too much and not clearly completely change toward the West and vice versa. But the problem is very complex, and so there's a lot of political and economical blackmail, and our freedom and our dignity as a country, this kind of suffocates us here. And please let me tell you, we have this risk that can come from both sides in different ways, of course. And even if it's not simple, we as the Church, we follow the principles of the Bible that all, independent of what language we speak, of what kind of political, cultural, social views we have, we are all children of God. We are one family, and therefore we mustn't prefer some people and neglect other people. And therefore, in our parishes, on all levels, we offer support in the languages of those that we work with. So we have this. We have material of the liturgy, and we also have libraries of. And we have books in all languages that our believers speak, and the priests and the nuns and the lay missionaries, due to these circumstances, are obliged to speak at least two languages. So, I mean, our two languages, Romanian and Russian. And, well, the Catholics in Russia, in Ukraine, or other former states of the Soviet Union identify with the local language. In Moldova, this is hardly possible. So therefore, the identity must be limited to their belief and not to their particular language, be it Romanian or Russian or any other language. So this really sounds like a challenge, especially in a country where, apart from Romanian and Russian, there are many other smaller local languages, which would also have to be included then, more or less. I should like to cordially thank you, Bishop Anton, for the insight into your daily life and the work that you have been doing for decades now, and hopefully for many more decades. So thank you very much for that. And I should like to also cordially thank you for this initiative. I'm very pleased that I'm a part of this today. This is the anniversary. Well, the Apostolic Administration was founded on the 28th of October 1993. In October. So I can celebrate that with you now. So you said the 28th of October. You said November at first. No. November is too cold. So congratulations to your anniversary here. Very good. Okay. After this insight into the Republic of Moldova from the Catholic perspective, I would like to have a look at the cultural sector now. And as a representative for this, Mr. Giller is going to talk about this. Ms. Giller, it's good to have you here today. So for 12 years now, you are the director of the German Goethe Center, so a cooperation partner of the Goethe Institute in the capital city of Chișinău. And originally you have been a German teacher, which was very good for us here. But so you are specialized in media and intercultural communication. And what I found very impressive in 2024, due to your special merits, you received the Federal Republic of Germany's Medal of Merit. So, Ms. Güller, so I'm very pleased that you're here today and give us an insight into your work. And at the beginning, I first would like to ask you, how actually did you get into your current position and what do you actually do? Well, good evening. Thank you very much for this invitation to be part of this tonight and to share more about the Republic of Moldova with you, especially the cultural area and the cultural scene in Moldova. So I studied in Germany at the Pedagogical University in Chișinău, and for a couple of years I was a lecturer there at this university. And then somehow the work at the university, it was not enough for me. I wanted to do more. I was still very young and I was also surrounded by very motivated industrious students. And actually we wanted to achieve more then. And so this was a time when the contact with Germany was not so easy. First of all, you had to get a transit visum to get an actual visa for Germany. And so this you were not even able to take a plane. So you had to change several times to get to Germany by train, for example. And therefore we need a transit visa for Poland. But we wanted more, that was sure. And And we had a kind of a longing for real German, authentic German culture. And so there was a group of colleagues. So we founded this German Cultural Center, Akzente. So this was an initiative, a cultural association. And the target was that to promote German in Moldova and also the German culture there. So my professional career actually led me to other professional challenges then. But nevertheless, well, this was like my little baby, this cultural center of Akzente. And so this is why I take over the leadership in 2013. And that was a great decision. And I'm still very motivated and committed. And I'm really looking forward to promote the intercultural dialogue beyond German and German culture, and to also being able to make a contribution to support the local Moldovan scene here. And the cultural scene in Moldova is very fermented. On the one hand, we have the state institutions that are financed by the state, by the government. And on the other hand, we have the independent, so-called independent cultural scene. So that's a very young, motivated, free scene. And we work both with the state institutions, but also with the local initiatives, with the so-called free cultural scene. Could you very quickly tell us, what does the Goethe Center do for as its language classes, but what are other areas that you're active in? So we offer language courses for children, young people, and adults, but also language tests, so internationally accredited language tests, if people want to emigrate to Germany, for example. So to start a professional career in Germany or to study in Germany. And beyond that, we also have projects to promote the German language, and one is called Deutsch Mobil, German mobile. And so the countries in the Republic of Moldova, we say, why don't you try to have training in German here? So we go to these schools then and we support the German teachers on the spot then, so they can have further training, their language animations. So we provide them with training material. And another very important component is the donation of German books. So there's no school book in access book for German in the Republic of Moldova. And so we lack these school books for the subject of German. And one component of this project is the donation of these exercise books. And in the cultural area, we have an own program that we develop. So this means cultural campaigns, events, be it concerts, exhibitions, films, theater auditions, and so on. So where we are the hosts, and we present a German as a very lively aspect there. And on the other hand, we have projects with local partners, also with German partners, where we cooperate then and try to implement larger events even. So let me just give you one example. On Thursday, the International Animation Film Festival is going to start. It's called animest. So we're going to show a German production. It's called Fritzi. And so this is meant to address certain topics like reunification, 35 years of reunification in Germany. And so this film talks a little bit from the perspective of a 12-year-old girl and how she experienced this time during your reunification. And what is important for us is that we have a knowledge transfer. So if artists come from Germany, for us it's important that they address young Moldovan artists and students, so that they transfer their know-how to them, so that they also create connections, create networks. So I think that's very important work, which stays invisible very often, but especially these contacts, these encounters. So this leads to further ideas and very good projects, especially also across borders, then I could imagine. Yes, exactly. So I would also like to ask you, because very often it's said that the Republic of Moldova is a country divided between West and East. Do you also notice this in the cultural field? Or how would you notice this? And how does the Goethe Center deal with this in its work? Yeah, it's true. Mr. Coșa has already talked about this and has said, so there is really a division in this society. It's a divided country. And it can also be partly explained, well, the Republic of Moldova is a young country, but historically it has been influenced by many different countries, Romanian, but also Russian, Turkish, and other influences, especially also from the Soviet time, for sure. And so all of this can be seen in the cultural areas when you have an own identity. Sometimes you talk about a Moldovan identity, what this is like, who can identify with this. So these are all discussions that can be seen culturally as well. But at the same time, I think it's also a resource, because many things can be managed together. You can learn from each other. And it's a special feature of the cultural scene in the Republic of Moldova that the artists are multilingual. So they speak Romanian, Russian, but also English in recent times. And so we also try to establish German even more and to spread German even more and to animate people to learn German, because that's our target after all. And I really notice a difference and a kind of a division between the younger generation and the older generation, also as regards the culture. So the younger generation, for me, it's more promising because they're very pro-European and also very talented and have more better educated, although the long Soviet tradition in the cultural area was very good. We have to admit that. So, and how would you notice that in concrete? So these conflicts between the generations, for example? Well, the elder generation. So I talk about the art area, the field of arts and the field of culture. So art and culture have have been very institutionalized. They said there has to be a school, it had to be financed by the state, and everything that would have been alternative or contemporary. So this would be seen as rather entertaining and not professional and not really art and culture, not high culture that a society requires. And on the other side, the younger generation, they think they want to be very progressive, and it's very dynamic, and they also bring up topics such as, for example, how do we deal with our heritage, with our legacy? How do we identify ourselves? Do we want to identify ourselves at all? How do we think about the war in Ukraine, for example? How do we see our future? What is actually the situation in the cultural area? Also, they talk about legal gaps, for example, that there's no law for free artists, for free professions. So very different aspects and opinions as regards different topics. Well, yeah, I can see that there might be a difference between the generations. And maybe as a last question, you already mentioned a couple of challenges: language, politics, generation, also a lack of legal basics. Are there other important challenges for the cultural sector at the moment? And what would you wish, or what would you expect from the new government in this regard? Well, I personally wish that the new government would see culture a little bit differently, not just as entertainment and not just as a cultural good, but that art and culture promote critical thinking and can help to develop critical thinking, and that it opens a space for dialogue. And it's important that people start with a dialogue, that you really focus on certain topics, that every group in society finds open space. So I wished to see more dynamics, and that the free art scene would still be supported by the state. And the state means so taxpayers' money, for example. This way we would be able to support this young cultural scene, so that we create mechanisms for that and tools. So let's hope that this will move ahead. So I should like to thank you, Ms. Galla, for this interesting insight in your daily life. So there are many things that I was not really aware of so far. So interesting approaches. Thank you very much. And now I would like to move over to our last guest of the evening. So he's a priest, he's a political actor, and so we have to clarify with Sergio, but I first like to introduce him. So Father Sergio Agia, that you can see here, he's a priest of the Orthodox Church of the Romanian Patriarchate, and for 19 years he has been the administrator of the parish of the Saint Basil of the Apple Orchard in Orhei, a regional center about an hour north of Chișinău. He also heads the charitable foundation Christian philanthropy affiliated with the parish, and he's a nationally known figure in the social political life. And how this is for him to work in this field of tension and what particularly concerns him at the moment, we're going to talk about this. So, as I understand it, priest, you have activated the translation. So this means I'm going to ask my questions in German, and you will have the translation in English, and then you answer in English then once is that okay for you?
I will try to speak in English. Your blessing, Your Excellence, honored audience, good evening. Yes, my name is Sergio Aga. I'm administrator of Parish San Basil of Apple Orchard. Yes, sometimes my days, they are very okay.
In Ordnung. Maybe just for the moment, could I ask my first question first of all before? Is that okay? I will ask my first question. So, Father Sergio, you are a priest. You are a well-known local political actor. You are a social activist. You are a husband and you are a father. So I could imagine that your days are very busy. And I would like to ask you, what has motivated you to become so engaged, so active in public life there in Ojai?
Good evening. Yes, my day sometimes is really busy, but not every day. The truth is, we can only succeed if we have a good team. At my house, God blessed me with a wonderful wife who have a lot of love and passion and takes most of our family duties, and that truly helped me in other activities. At Philanthropia, our NGO stands on also in dedicated team, and in our friends who help us, support us in our causes. And first of all, I want to thanks to Renovabis, who has stood with us for more than 3 years to solve real social needs of Moldavian citizens. And yes, as a priest, I try to bring light. Politics may seem far away from the priest mission. Yes, it's true. But here, this means civic values and the responsibility in front of a challenge that has pushed us away from fairness and healthy development of region. If not the priest, who is called to shed the light? Please tell me. And I try to be everyone in every this status, but sometimes is good, but sometimes is not. So thanks God is like this.
Ja, ich glaube, das passte schon sehr gut zusammen.
I think this summarizes very good. So, Father Sergio, you are a priest of the Orthodox Church in Moldova, of the Romanian Patriarchate. Can you explain to our listeners here now, how is the situation of the Orthodox Churches in Moldova? So, which churches are there? How big are they? And what is the relationship between the different churches to each other?
In Moldova, at last census, about 94% of people say we are Orthodox, but real religious practice is much lower. Only 5 or 6% actually take part in the church life. It's sadly, and actually, this is a common post-Soviet situation. Yes, we have two churches. One is linked to Romanian Patriarchate, and other is linked to Russian Moscow Patriarchate. Sadly, there is almost no cooperation between us, and not even for social or cultural project. like our invite says, we are very, very polarized, and in many priests, they are in opposite direction. They see in opposite direction. Less actually all our society, and they also carry different geopolitical views. Sometimes quiet, sometimes very, very strong. In this context, some external influence try to shape public opinion in Moldova. This year, certain pilgrimage trips included training with a geopolitical angle. After such visit, similar lines something appear in public talk, especially in some churches, like Europe is immoral, the EU is a danger for us, and the war in Ukraine is not our concern.
Mhm. Das sind Pilgerreisen, die nach Russland organisiert
So we're talking about pilgrimages that were organized to go to Russia, correctly?
Yes. A lot of these pilgrimage, actually, all our mass media talk about this, and priests who come from this pilgrimage try to make this public opinion in our space. So it's very, very sadly, and this is about our religiosity and cooperation. But we are confident that God, with God's help, we will also reach unity, maybe in the future.
Ja, das hoffen wir natürlich alle, dass irgendwann die
We
Wege
all hope that in the future there will be more cohesion in the society and more cooperation. But nevertheless, I think we can say currently the Moldovan society is more fragmented and divided. So you already have given one example, how Moscow tries to influence the Moldovan society with these pilgrimages of the priests. Can you also give us other examples with this hybrid war, for example, how they use the hybrid war to influence or to divide the Moldovan society?
Yes, people use this phrase more and more, hybrid war. It's hard to prove in court, but it's easy to feel, especially in my region, when like any work of evil, it try to divide society and to bring fear. We feel it. We feel that fear. From Orhei, as a priest and as a local councillor, I saw how this war puts on the clothes of propaganda against Moldova's Europe path. It often uses Soviet nostalgia. Instead of real goods and honest work, you are asked to consume parades and anti-Western slogans. In recent years, I saw this in Orhei in public space. Small propaganda newspapers coming from the local offices, media posts on social networks pushed by many fake accounts, and the message with a pseudo-spiritual tone, sometimes coming actually from clergy. And the most worrying part is the unclear funding behind these campaigns. As our state body have snarled many times about this in the mass media, was a lot of described a lot of things of this actually money who come nobody know about where, and founding this campaign, propaganda campaign. Actually, we can try to speak about this campaign in I don't know, in area of sustain of Ukrainian refugees, and we heard about Ukrainian takes our resources, that the war is not our concern, like I thought, and that Europe has no morals. I think this line do not seek truth. We seek to close our hearts. In reality, many support programs are separately founded, and when we help people in need, women, children, and elderly, then the nose goes down and the beast grows. in the end, this about conscience with good is good and what is the evil, what is true patriotism and what is violence. Because we speak about violence, it is good to say what is white and what is dark is really dark.
Mhm. Ja, ich stelle es mir sehr schwierig vor.
So I could imagine that it's very difficult, especially in this media context, to really keep an overview. Who says what? Where does the information come from? Who finances what, and so on. So it's good if there are also social actors, church social actors that really work against this division. Would you maybe be able to share some examples? What you and your teams, what do you do to promote the cohesion within the society?
Especially we have with our association a lot of projects. A lot of them is founded by Renovables. Thanks again for your support. And we have actually real facts and good things for especially for vulnerables. And we speak about a social canteen who help a lot of elderly in our region. We give food for more than 100 person, elderlies and vulnerables. We have activity of cohesion between Ukrainians and Moldavians in Orhei space. A lot of programs of solidarity and to help Ukrainians. And we have programs of education. If you speak about our culture and our Soviet culture, we try to stop all the propaganda who comes from Soviet nostalgia or for Soviet culture, and to promote with education to stop this. And we have another programs that help. And I try to, I don't know, everyone from us knows our Father, like prayer, yeah? The same words and for everyone, no? Maybe it's good in first steps to pray together. Maybe that could be a real activity of cohesion between that two churches, between all confessions, and could be a very good start. Faith with good works change people and health communities. May God help us and to work together for salvation of our souls. Maybe it's good to start with prayers and with good works.
Das sind wunderschöne Schlussworte, die
Well, that's wonderful final words that create hope in me and which show very concrete small steps that we can do. So I strongly hope that we can move in this direction. Thank you very much, Father Sergiu, for taking the time and for having given us an insight in your work.
Diesen seltsamen hybriden
and also in this strange hybrid war of information and the challenges that you are confronted with. So, dear spectators, we have come to the end of the interview part here. So I should like to thank all three guests cordially for having taken the time to be with us here and share something from their daily life. So I think we have received very interesting insights from you. So I think this idea of this divided society, it was important to have another look at that and say we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of different resources. So this could also be a treasure if you make good use of that. And so hope that Moldova will manage that very well in the future with all the great people that are in the country and with the support of Germany, the European Union, and all other partners that are there. So I think we can have another 15 minutes or so to answer a couple of questions from the audience. And I have seen there are some questions already in the chat. Well, I see two questions in the chat. And the first is very practical from Mr. Octavie from Lengerich. And I would like to ask Bishop Anton. So so in Transnistria and so on, is the Russian Church oppressed in Transnistria? So in Transnistria, can the Catholic Church work freely?
Ich denke, wir sind in Moldawien unter
So in the Republic of Moldova, we have two different legal situations, but we have no pressure from the Transnistrian government or so. So we can work very freely there, but we have to adhere to the rules, right? So if I, as a bishop, have to go to Tiraspol, I have to show my passport, I need a permission. Well, I get the permission, I get a little piece of paper there, but then I'm free to go there.
In Moldawien und Transnistrien,
Moldova and Transnistria, we can work freely there. So my request is only that they give us the freedom to work. We need no other support. We do that ourselves, but we just need this freedom to work. And in Russia, it's a bit different. So I talked to bishops with my colleagues in Russia, and I heard a lot of things from there. Of the past 2-3 years, it has become more and more difficult also for the Catholic Church. And many priests are under pressure that they are asked to leave the country. That's certainly a challenge. Maybe let me add another question of understanding, Bishop, from Angelina Horoson. Why do many Catholics in Moldova speak Russian and not Romanian? Where does that come from? Moldovans are mainly Orthodox people, and the Catholics are only those that came from Poland, from Ukraine, from the Baltic countries.
Dort, wo die katholische Kirche ist am meisten. Und deshalb
this is the reason why the Catholics originally come from other countries.
Nicht eine richtige moldawische katholische Kirche.
So therefore it's not a true Moldovan Catholic Church. But I think we are on a good way.
Ja,
yes.
Nein, sehr gut.
Very good.
Danke Ihnen, Herr Bischof.
Thank you, Bishop.
Dann sehe ich hier noch eine Frage, die
I see another question that I find quite interesting for all three of you. Which expectations do you have to the European Union? What are your expectations? So this integration process and so on, what do you expect from that? Maybe Ms. Görler, would you like to start?
Für mich bedeutet
So for me, the European Union above all means democracy,
eine bessere Lebensqualität,
better life quality, prosperity. And for me, the European Union would be a guarantor that we would not again
nicht wieder in die Korruption,
back into corruption, poverty,
dass man die Rechte aller
and so that the rights of all groups that live in Moldova, that all of this would be protected and respected. And I hope that Moldova as a country would modernize itself.
Perspektivisch wünsche ich mir tatsächlich, dass
And as a
Moldau
perspective, I hope
als Mentalität,
that
die Menschen auch die Mentalität ändern.
that people's mentality would also change. Thank you very much. Father Sergio, would you also like to say something about your expectations? What do you hope the European Union to do?
We hope to be with free people in Europe and to have possibility to have our freedom, because here we feel a lot of fear in Moldova. We are very, very close to Ukraine. That fear is not about bombs. That fear is about psychological war that we feel here in Moldova and in Ukraine. And that could stop only with free countries, free democratic countries from Europe. And we hope then in the very, very close time to be with you, with Europe, because we are part of Europe.
Yes, you are, sind Sie. Dankeschön. Herr Bischof, möchten
Yes,
Sie
you
dazu
are.
auch
So,
noch was ergänzen?
Bishop, would you also like to add something? So, at the beginning, you already said something regarding the European Union, but maybe you have other thoughts?
Zuerst möchte ich
Well,
unterstützen,
first
was
of all, I would like to
beide
support what
gerade
the other
gesagt haben.
two just
Aber ich
said,
habe noch eine
but
etwas praktische Sache.
I have another practical
Ich
thing I would
komme
like to
aus
mention.
Rumänien
I come from
und
Romania,
nach Hause zu meiner Mutter
and to travel
kommen,
home
ich
to my
brauche
mother,
3 Stunden in
I need
Grenze
3
warten.
hours at the
Deshalb
border.
für mich
So for me,
Union ist
European
eine
Union is also
Territorium
one territory
ohne Grenzen.
without
Das
any
ist
borders.
die
So
wichtigste
for me, that's also very
Ja,
important.
das kann ich gut verstehen.
Yeah, I can truly understand that. It's a luxury that people in the West forget when you're in Germany or something, and you can travel in all directions with open borders. But if you stand at the border for 3 hours again, you are aware again that it's not the same everywhere, right? So I see another question here in the chat,
Für Pfarrer Sergiu ist, denke
which
ich,
is directed at Father Sergiu. So Matthias asks to Father Sergiu, what can we in Germany learn from the Republic of Moldova, how to deal with misinformation? What can we learn in Germany how to deal with misinformation?
What do you want to learn from Moldova, about Moldova?
Hören Sie mich, wenn ich Englisch spreche? Ich glaube nicht. Sie haben erklärt.
So you explained before so that there's a lot of misinformation about the hybrid war and how you deal with this. So do you have some tips for us Germans? Do you have tips for people in Germany how you can deal with misinformation in a good way?
So we need to understand what's mean that hybrid war. That hybrid war, it's very, very unusual. It's very, very without, how to say, very, very concrete situation. And that's come, I don't know, from social media posts, that come from some words in the social space. And we need to try very, very, very specific that we need to have more information from everywhere to stop this war. And that could be stopped only with education. I don't know if I understand very, very well your question. Anyway.
Also ich denke, Bildung ist immer ein wichtiger Aspekt.
Yeah,
Wissen,
education is always important. Knowing where to get information from. And you have to tell children and also adults how to deal with misinformation.
For adults education, because we don't have this. Only 2% of the population of Moldova are involved in educational of adults. That is very, very low percentage.
Ja, in der Tat. Also Erwachsenenbildung, Herr Dürr, wäre eine Antwort.
So educating the adults, that would be an answer, maybe. Mr. Dürr? Okay, so currently I see no further questions in the chat.
Das heißt, ich
So this means
darf Ihnen allen, die Sie hier anwesend sind,
I should like to thank all of you here for your interest, for your time, for your questions, for your involvement. And I would especially like to thank our 3 guests from Moldova for their presence, for their efforts.
Din suflet, pentru timpul și efortul acordat și vă doresc o seară plăcută. Und ich wünsche auch Ihnen, liebes Publikum,
So, dear audience,
einen wunderschönen Abend.
I would like to wish you a very pleasant evening and hopefully until the next time when we again have a listen to the session. Goodbye, everyone.
Vielen Dank, einen schönen Abend.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Dank.
Thank you.
Und vielleicht treffen wir uns
And maybe
noch.
we will
Wir
meet
treffen
again.
uns als Team noch, aber das
So
Meeting an
the
sich
meeting
ist
as
so jetzt
such
vorbei.
is over.